Dearest Emma Sabella, inner child, birthright, inner energy, energy. I am writing to you. I am writing for you. Your healing, my healing, our healing. I've shielded you in a cloak of protection for many years, buried you deep in a fortress of my pain and love, neglected the healing of you for the sake of others, putting the comfort of others before the healing of you. But I sincerely apologize. I haven't had enough empathy for you, Emma Sabella. At times, I've been downright dismissive, feeling like you have no right to take up so much space in my world. Your voice isn't the one I've always wanted to hear. It brings me sadness. It triggers my deepest fears. It forces me to confront the pieces of myself I've distanced myself from that are lost, discarded, abused, exploited, and harmed. With you, I carry so much shame. With you, I carry so much guilt. I hold it all in my womb, the grief, the unresolved trauma, my masculine attributes of survival encase you. For some reason, I am unable to release and let go. I haven't allowed myself to love you deeply enough. And for that, I am truly sorry. Glenance Laverne.
All right. So that was the first one. That was called Dearest Emma Sabella. What came up for y'all?
Well, I mean, that definitely resonated with me because I've actually written something that had a similar tone about, I guess you could call it my inner child, but it was so my birth name is different than what I go by as an artist. Mm-hmm. And I chose certain names for myself at different times in my life. And what I came to later understand is that I chose these names as a form of protection. And that the smaller child version of me, I didn't go by that name because that aspect of myself needed to be protected, needed to be shielded based on the experiences that she had had. And so she became the observer for a good portion of many years of my life up until I was ready to reclaim that aspect of myself and bring her back to the forefront and say, now it's safe for you to emerge. So that resonated very deeply for me because I've been through that experience. I know what that process is, and I felt those feelings.
Yeah. Thank you, Shay. Yeah, do what y'all need to do. Clap, tap. Let's not clap, you know. What about others?
I think to open up with the concept of healing is really, really important because it's an ongoing process. And one of the lines that stuck out to me was the masculine attributes for survival. And having to for me, I was like, oh, having to unpack what that means. There's a lot of conversation around femininity and softness and what that looks like. And I don't think a lot of people have conversations around why women in particular have more of those masculine characteristics. And a lot of it is around survival. And so just to have those two things, the healing in the beginning conversation and the unraveling of it, and then to hear that line, it's that's where my brain stopped at those two places and just opened up the door of okay, being able to explore that a little bit more.
It reminds me of solitude. Listening to this piece, I can tell it just reminds me of sitting with yourself. Mm-hmm. Sitting with yourself long enough to kind of unpack, but also rediscover and uncover some of those things that you've held on to and maybe kind of brushed over decade after decade. So it just reminds me of a place of healing, but also healing in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my name's Sherry. It was interesting to me that word masculine stuck out to me really hard when you said it, and I was like, am I struggling with it? Am I fighting with it? And so it was interesting when you said it. I was like, I was almost not going to say anything, and then I said, but yeah, it hit me hard because I wanted it not to be that word.
Yeah. So this piece, you know, is called Dearest Emma Sabella because my birth name is actually Emma Sabella. And the name that I was given at birth, this is about being very vulnerable. My father was not there at my birth, and so my mother named me after her mother, who name was Emma Bell Hayes. And so usually, like, a lot of families, like the males get named after males, but this was like, you know, reversing that. But we have, like, you'll name women. I've been in families where you got the young grandbabies named after the grandmother. And so my grandmother was very excited. So my name was Emma Sabella Hayes. And then my father came back and did not like that, did not agree with that. And so changed my name. So I got Glenance, which was after him. His name is Glenn. And my mother's name is Laverne. And so the consolation is, you know, my middle name is my mother's first name, and then Green, his name. So that's how I ended up having a completely different name. But I feel like in this inner child inside of myself that's always fighting to be free and like warring with these different parts of myself, that was like giving credence to her in that space. And how the character that I've had to develop into to really kind of survive and protect myself has been one of that has been much more masculine, and has been for a really long time. And I haven't allowed myself to be as vulnerable as I could be or should be for my healing. And I'm in a space in my life where I want to do that and make room for that. Right, so even these very vulnerable parts and these stories that I would never tell out to the public because it's family business, will go on to family business. But I will say, and I want to acknowledge my cousin over here. I have family over here in the room. My mother, my cousins, my godparents, my cousins. So a shout out to all my family in the room. But my cousin Ashley, Ayla, always says, you know, girl, we shouldn't be keeping these family secrets. I'm telling it all. Like, people need to know this how you heal. So, like, I love it. You know, and that's how you break that chain. And so that I just want to acknowledge you for, like, you know, empowering the family to be doing that more. So that's what that kind of speaks to as well. Uncovering the things that we're burying so that we can get free. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes.